Welcome back to Busted Open. Mortman, LaGreca, and as promised, the Hall of Famer, the Showstopper, the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania. We could throw out all the names. How about author? Wrestling for
Which
my
one of these
life.
does not fit?
Shawn Michaels.
One
Shawn,
of these is not like the other.
welcome aboard. Great to have you in studio. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very. I appreciate y'all having me.
Can't drop the cowboy.
No,
hat
heavens,
right there.
no, my prized possession. So,
Well-
no, appreciate you having me very much.
No, and the book is excellent, and I'll just dive right in. First of all, great reflection of your faith. It's always good to hear from somebody that's going to reflect in that way and be totally honest, and you're totally honest in this book. And the one story that struck me is the story with Cameron when you're on the couch, when you kind of first realized that you had a problem, and though I don't think you totally lost your faith, you kind of strayed, and you brought that back into your life. Just reflect for us a little bit about that story and how you got back into your faith.
Well, again, it's I guess a little bit of a misconception that I got back into my faith. I was raised Catholic, but gosh, I mean, it had been a long time since I was a church-going kid. And by this time, whatever, I've been in the wrestling business 15 years, and it was very simple. It was having a child and knowing, I can remember, when we first found out Rebecca was pregnant, and in my mind, you've got 9 months. 9 months to get yourself together. And then of course, he's born, and then his first birthday, and then his second birthday, and you're a little better, but I'm still, you're just still not being, the man and the husband you should be. And again, it was that night on the couch. Again, him in his innocence, thinking I was tired, and obviously me knowing that wasn't the case, and it just, shaming me, humiliating me. You can get caught up in a lot of the wrestling stories, and even if you allow yourself to do that, let's say I've got just the biggest ego in the entire world, and I am the absolute worst person that's ever walked the face of the earth who's ever been in the wrestling business. Okay, and for now, I'm going to say I'm that guy. even this was beyond anything that guy could swallow. It was just the absolute worst thing that I ever felt, and that was the moment, me knowing that just this, you can absolutely no longer go down this road. It has to stop today. And even if all of those previous statements were true, this was one thing that was even bigger than that. And to this day, I mean, I look at that boy. He's 15 years old. I give him a hard time all the time because I say, you ruined me. You ruined me. I used to be a man of steel, and now I'm a huge wuss, all because of you. But I wouldn't change it for anything. Me and my daughter are and my wife, my family are just, they're what I want to be good for. And like I said, it was just a matter of knowing that you were going to fail them. And they were innocent of it all, and that bothered me to a point to where, I knew there needed to be a change.
Many of the wrestling fans out there who know you, at a deeper level, know what you're saying right now, what kind of family man you are, how much you care about your family, how your wife is your best friend. But on the other hand, you are who you are. I mean, in many people's opinion, the greatest wrestler of all time. So you have this change. And now, I mean, you still are Shawn Michaels, and you have to go back with your peers into that locker room, people that know you in a different way, not just their feelings and their acceptance, but how did you feel? What were the emotions running through you when you were, I guess, explaining or showing, and it's detailed beautifully in the book, like, hey, I'm a different guy now. What were the emotions running around, not just you, but also the locker room?
Well, a lot. It's a little bit of a tug of war, because one of the things that I'm very thankful for that my Christianity brings, especially all these years later, not so much the beginning, But it enables, me to, to grasp that as much as I can love and respect my fellow man, which I do. But at the end of the day, you guys have zero say-so on my eternal being. And that's looked at by the good Lord above. And so that gives you a strength that you might not ordinarily have against, whatever, peer pressure and yada, yada, yada. But to your point, coming from where I came from, I knew there was going to be a lot of cynicism. I knew there was going to be a lot of questions. Much like now, though. I mean, it's like people like, yeah, but that was tough business on you, though, wasn't it? I mean, your body's got hurt. Like, well, yeah, but I mean, I knew that going in. I mean, I don't expect a pat on the back because, I endured. It's a physical job. You're gonna get hurt. So, so I knew that. I mean, I knew that. I understood that. There were many guys that I knew had every right to be cynical and to wonder and look at me and say, you need to prove yourself, all that kind of stuff. None of that bothered me. And I think, that's what I think the biggest thing is that my faith brought to me is that none of that bothered me and it didn't anger me. The old me, it would have angered me. And it's like, I don't have to prove myself to you. And, again, you just would have reciprocated that bad attitude going forward. This, this, I came back and knew, there were some people that, were not going to like it or accept it or whatever. Heck, there still are. I mean, there's people that, there will be people that I've never met, I'll never see or whatever that will continue to call me the biggest SOB in the world. That's just, that's not going to change.
But we sat down with Michael Cole and he said, honestly, I just couldn't take Shawn prior to. And then after, I mean, you guys are pals now. He literally gave both sides of the coin right there. It's like, I couldn't deal with Shawn.
Yeah, no, and that's true. Again, and I guess that's one of the things that there's a difference between the guys that know you and the guys that knew you, as opposed to, and again, there is a difference. I know that from a fan's perspective, a guy that sat in the locker room with me, that never hung around me, never talked to me, never whatever. From y'all's perspective, he knows me. He doesn't. He's never once spent any time with me, never hung out with me, never talked with me, whatever. There's a lot of guys out there that will, that have, eventually that have a story or whatever. They're all just like him, and they're a gazillion guys. I've hung out with just about everybody. I've got a story on everybody. It just wouldn't occur to me to, write a book and drag them through the mud. It just, but that is, not the point of it all. It's for me, it was the guys that knew me. And that's why I got Steve. I mean, yes, of course, Hunter. And I wanted, Hunter to do my forward, but I wanted him to do it from the perspective of what he did. And that is the guy that, honestly, another guy that everybody's pretty sure he's got no feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's has no feeling, but the burden that he was my buddy, that every morning, coming down to my room, he wondered, is he going to be dead today?
Jeez.
You know what I mean? And he carried that around with him for a long time. And again, and that's why, again, having Steve do the other forward was, again, Steve is a guy that, Steve and I are friends now, but yes, he's very open and honest about, we weren't then or whatever, but he, again, guys like him, Michael Cole, again, The Undertaker, guys that can speak to who really had to deal with me back then. There's a lot of people with a lot of stories, but most of them, I probably said, 3 or 4 words to in my lifetime, but these guys, they knew me. They spent time with me. They can speak to the change more than anything else. And again, let's make one thing perfectly clear. This isn't a book written by a guy who's perfect, claiming to be anything, even in the ballpark, or a pastor or a Christian scholar or any of that stuff. It's written by an ex-wrestler. That's about it.
And the book is Wrestling for My Life, of course, the legendary, the Hall of Famer, Shawn Michaels. Here's what we're going to do, because they're giving me like the 2-minute sign,
Are you
which I
serious
hate.
already?
I hate that. We just are barely getting cooking here. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to toss it to my broadcast partner, the great Dave LaGreca. Quick hitters, wrestling related, for the showstopper. Go.
Well, Undertaker. The streak ends with Brock Lesnar at last year's WrestleMania. 2 epic matches with The Undertaker that you had. One that was the last match of your career. Did you know that the streak was going to end? And do you have any reflections on that streak ending?
I did not know it was ending. I'm of the camp that I don't think it should be ended or should have been ended. Yeah,
totally agree. The guy you train, Daniel Bryan, will the love, the relationship that the fans have with him, is that going to wear thin at any point?
I mean, probably, I guess, because again, God love them, but they're fickle group. But even if they do, they'll come back again. I mean, because at just as being as fickle as they might be, they're also loving and forgiving and everything else. But he'll evolve, he'll change, just as the fans will. I mean, it's an ongoing evolution, the whole WWE and the wrestling business as a whole. And again, I'm speaking from a guy that now sees it all in the rearview mirror. I recognize that in the moment it feels like, oh, that's never going to end, or this is the worst thing ever. It isn't. Time you'll be surprised, 5-10 years from now when you're looking back on this, how cool it is.
And someone who's been outspoken about his faith as well, Sting, somebody that you've had dealings with outside the ring, now making his first match in the WWE.
Yeah, and I do have to say that we were, whatever it was, a couple of weeks ago. I guess he was there, and I never saw him. Never saw him. And I
That's
guess
how Sting rolls.
Well, apparently, but just so you know, just not for TV. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know he was there, and he showed up at the end of the show. Obviously, when I'm done with my thing, I'm out of there like a scalded dog. But I had no idea he was there. So yes, art imitates life because he's still very mysterious.
The top of the food chain, Vince, Triple H. We think, the company's in great hands with one of your best friends, Vince. It's funny, they both go on that podcast, and you just wonder, is Vince a little bit out of touch with the pro wrestling fan right now?
I don't know if he's out of touch with the wrestling fan right now. I know that he's Vince McMahon, and he's always had a screw loose. And so sometimes that screw loose makes him a genius, and sometimes it doesn't. And so, truthfully, I say that half jokingly, but I'm not there enough, and again, I always tell everybody, and I don't say it to demean anything or again, to try to be like that, just because you're away, you don't know. I don't keep up with a lot. I'm not lying. I've tried to do well in this book. I'm a one thing at a time guy. I'm not a multitasker. So, I'm not the best guy to ask. What I do know is what I've always known. They don't ever sink. They might be stranded out there for a little while, but it's like the old WCW, WWF thing at the time, man. They are going to win.
Yeah.
And so whatever, even if they're down, they'll come back.
That's a wrap. Boy, Shawn, geez, we could talk to you for
we need
freaking
an hour.
By the way, you almost got us fired. Quick story. Really quick story. Our first ever interview with you, we blew out all our breaks, all of our commercial breaks. We're like, screw it. It's Shawn Michaels. We're just going to go the full hour. And then I get the call right after the show. To my office, please. And they're like, we cannot ever do that again or you are fired.
Oh, my God. Well, that is tremendous. And I want you to know that now you, too, can go on some interview and talk about how Shawn Michaels almost got you fired.
There you go.
Wrestling for my life. Look,
you're in
seriously,
pretty good company, gentlemen.
This is a tremendously penned book. As Shawn himself said, the forward by Triple H, another forward by Stone Cold, and just amazing stories about your faith and what you went through and the feelings and all that. And really, it's a must read. Thank you very much, HBK.
My pleasure. Thank you all very much for having me, and thank you very much for the help with the book. Appreciate it.